all that casting couch work.
No, it should come with penicillin.
No doubt.
So, Tom, looking back at the movie, the choice to make 2 hour-and-a-half films. You said it took you almost 3 years to film. What was behind that? I mean, that's pretty ambitious for a first-time director. I'm assuming it's first time. I've never heard of any of your other work, but
Yeah, those were my first features for sure. Did a lot of shorts, did some industrial videos, I even did some wedding videos, if you can believe that, just to try to raise money, to build the studio and all that kind of stuff. But, when I wrote the script, it was a 90-page script when I started. I thought, we're good, we'll have an hour-and-a-half long movie here. But, once we got going with these people that, that I brought together, that I found, or, that were my friends for all these years, these people were just much funnier than I thought they'd be, way more talented than the script really was. So I just was being sneaky about it, and I just keep adding scenes in there because I thought, you know what, I mean, I got a chance to make one movie here, heck, maybe I'll make 2, I'll kind of just sneak it all in there and see if we can stretch this thing out. And then I started to kind of pattern it after like TV miniseries, from the 80s where we kind of have like a part 1, a big cliffhanger, and then on to part 2. I didn't think that ever been done before with a zombie movie. I didn't think there'd ever been a no-budget, zombie miniseries. So I thought, let's see if we can pull it off. And I somehow had enough beer to keep these people around for almost 4 years, and we got it done. And then another year was spent on special effects and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't necessarily planned to happen that way, but I was kind of glad it did. I like the way it worked out.
I'll tell you, back to the cast, I mean, all of you did a really fantastic job. I was really surprised. I mean, a horror comedy is kind of hard to do correctly. I think what you guys brought to the table collectively was you parodied the material without being, there's a lot of fanboys that would get really upset if you were quote-unquote disrespectful to the source material or the material you were parodying, and you guys towed that line really well, and I thought a lot of you did a great job acting, comedic timing, and everything else. So, I mean, you guys really deserve a pat on the back if Tom hasn't given you one already.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a hand that he gave me, so I can just pat myself with that hand. Well, it was fun. It was fun to do. Of course, it took a long time, but then we all have regular jobs, so.
Right. And I think it helped that we, at least a lot of the creative people involved in it, really love those movies. We love Italian zombie movies. We love Burial Ground and Fulci's Zombie and City of the Walking Dead and Nightmare City, all those flicks. We really loved them, but we still could see, things that made them kind of funny, especially looking at them 20, 30 years later. And that's what we chose to kind of draw the humor from. And it's mostly, drawn from the sexism and the opportunity to do some funny gross outs, things like that, versus, mocking them in some way. You're right. There are fans out there who would never forgive us if we did that, and I wouldn't forgive myself. I just wanted to make a movie that was surreal like those, yet, it was just a fun movie to be a part of, and will hopefully get you inspired to watch those old movies again.
One thing that it kind of reminded me of is, and if you ever want to do a special edition of this movie, put out a VHS version with a garishly airbrushed cover and everything else.
Oh, I'd love to do that if we could get somebody to do the artwork for me. We do have them on VHS right now, actually. I bring them to conventions, and the VHS versions actually have special features that aren't on the DVDs. So, and the interesting thing about that is, of all the conventions I've done, the only thing that's been stolen from me are the VHS versions. I've had those stolen.
Huh.
Isn't that weird?
Here.
Well, I think like you guys, I kind of grew up in the golden age of VHS, where we rented a lot of these movies of dubious quality from the local video store when there was one on every corner.
Yeah. That's how it started for us. I remember, what was it? It was like the end of the summer.
Yeah. Your parents' college, we rented like 15 movies all in one day.
Yeah.
And we went to some little mom and pop shop called Crazy Larry's or something like that, and it was an old converted gas station that had started up as a video store right on the corner of Henry and
Broadway.
Yeah. And we rented like 15 movies, and we watched every stinking one of them back to back. I mean, no breaks, no nothing. Just one.
Probably no beer at that time.
And I think what was kind of funny is when we were watching them back then, I mean, you figure this is the early 80s when we're doing this, or, mid 80s. and we had seen, Dawn of the Dead a bunch of times and stuff, and when you kind of compared those movies to Dawn of the Dead, we were like, oh, these kind of stink, man. These aren't any good, And then, because we didn't understand the humor that was in the movies, and then, 10, 15 years later, when we watched them again, it was like, oh my God, this is great. This is great stuff. This is hysterical, man. They were way ahead, of some of their thinking and what they were doing and stuff. And especially when you look at the, the sexism, things you just can't get away with nowadays. I mean, you'd be crucified if you tried to do some of that stuff.
But we try.
Yes.
Well, I think we were talking the other day about Zombie Lake, Tom, and some of the stuff in that movie you wouldn't get away with today. I mean, there's just nudity for nudity's sake, and then a little more nudity in that movie. It's something else.
I know, and when you really break it down and you watch that movie, it's actually kind of like a child's fairy tale. It's about this little girl whose dad gets killed and comes back as a zombie, but it's very much, told like a fairy tale, completely surrounded by full frontal female nudity. So it's like just these two genres that should never have been put together,
Absolutely. I mean, the movie opens with a busload of girls, and let's get naked and swim in this lake.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you remember the first time you see it, but now I've seen it probably 5 times in my life, and now I'm just seeing how really sick it really is when you really think about it. Let's do a fairy tale for kids, and we'll fill it with female nudity. So who is the audience for this movie?
Yeah.
You just can't figure it out.
So we got the Italian Zombie movie Part 3, that lots of nudity and Nazi zombies then, right?
There's a 75-minute shower scene in Part 3, and about 5 minutes in the beginning and end of plot. That's all I'm doing.
Is there going to be a Part 3, and who's going to be back?
Well, I think the people in this room are certainly going to be back for Part 3, and there is definitely going to be a Part 3. It's going to be a lot different from 1 and 2. We'll kind of, I can tell you this much. It basically picks up right where Part 2 ends. Right at that point is where Part 3 begins, and then we're going to go on a whole new little adventure with some of the survivors and some of the people who maybe you didn't realize survived, and maybe some people playing different roles. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And based on the reaction we've gotten at the film festivals and stuff like that, I've had so many people come up to me afterwards and say, okay, when's Part 3? So I take that as a, let's do this.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something about Joe Pilato actually wanting to be in Part 3.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Joe Pilato, what a character. When we showed up at, was it Famous Monsters? I think it was the Famous Monsters convention. And I was walking around there in my movie mascot wardrobe there that I wear, the Askrat character who's Sasquatch's illegitimate son. Anyway, we won't go there right now. But anyway, I'm walking around with my Italian Zombie movie T-shirt on. He had apparently heard of our movie, and he actually got up from his table and ran out and grabbed me by the shoulder. I didn't know who he was because he's growing his hair out. I didn't even recognize him. He goes, how the hell could you make an Italian Zombie movie and not cast me in it? And he just was so intense and serious. I'm like, who is this nut? And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's Joe Pilato. He was actually, he's a good actor, so I don't really know, but he actually seemed angry at me. And later on, he gave me all his contact info and stuff. And he says, if you make a Part 3, you better put me in it. I'm Joe Pilato. Don't you know who I am? I'm Italian. And he's going on and on about it. That's an interesting bit of trivia. In our movie, the lead zombies were played by Italians. Joe Tardani and his brother Jim Tardani were our zombies through most of the movie. They might be the only Italians in the movie, come to think of it.
I was wondering about that, how someone with, how can we say this, Eastern European last name makes an Italian zombie movie.
Yeah, there were a lot of Polacks involved in this movie.
He was being very politically correct.
Yes, he was. But I'm
sensitive to your heritage.
Yes, I'm Swedish and Polish. I'm not Italian at all. But hey, what can we say? We love these movies. We love Italian horror. Not just the zombie movies. I love Argento's stuff. I love Umberto Bava's stuff. Giallo, and that's what I think sets us apart too. Sophia Loren. I think that's what sets us apart is we're not just a kids get trapped in the house and get killed type of movie. We actually have kind of the whole mystery, the whole giallo, surreal Italian plot going on through the whole thing, through both parts.
I think in talking from you and then the three of you that are there, Jeff, Kathy, and Chuck, the diverse backgrounds, and then you all coming together to make this bizarre 3 hours of entertainment is just, it blows your mind sometimes when you think about it.
Well, thank you. It blew our mind to make it.
I think our minds must have been blown to begin with. To even, no, I'm kidding.
That even want to be a part of it, your mind had to be blown. Yep. And we've blown a lot of minds of people who have been watching it too. So
it was nice because we haven't done anything since the Kurt Forrest film or whatever.
yeah, since high school was probably a lot of
Well,
us.
and a lot of it in high school too. But I mean, you know, you had done something to kind of get back into the process at one point.
Yeah. Because in high school, when I was making films and stuff like that, we were still on, you know, we were using film and video was so crappy. It just took so long to basically build a studio where I could actually do, you know, broadcast quality stuff. So it was about 10 years where we really didn't do anything. You know, we just did music and stuff like that. So it was fun to get a lot of our friends back together to do that, and then have new friends like Kathy come in for, you know, since the casting couch. So,
Since that couch,
yeah, so it's only been 6 years, I think.
I heard it was a gas pump in the front yard that sealed it, though.
It was. It's true.
The myth. That's a myth.
Uh-huh.
I'm not quite sure. I think it was the casting couch that really sealed it.
No, but then once that gas pump showed up, he's like, okay, you're in. You are in with Lennon.
And then Greta sealed it up.
And Greta, yes. She was.
Can't forget Greta.
And the Porsche, that was my car.
That is their Porsche in the garage.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what,
Was it
you know,
1955?
1955 Porsche.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yeah, that was cool. We should have actually used it in the movie, but, you know, we had it sitting in the background.
Jeff could have done some stunt driving in it, huh? I heard he did a lot of the stunt driving in the film.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, well, I mean, yeah, I did a little bit in that Jetta, and I've actually been to a racing school. I had to go to a place called Bill Scott Raceway when I was in the service. We'd go up there to learn how to shoot and drive at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, but unfortunately, in the one scene where it looks really good, I almost actually lost it. You know?
Well, there's something you don't hear every day.
So anyway, guys.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. I was wrapping up anyway. I can tell it really comes through that you all had a great time making this movie.
It was very fun. It was.
Well, thank you for liking the movie. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some. It's amazing. We've got some fans who, you know, like yourself, and there've been a lot of people who've just, you know, been in contact with me since our movies come out, and, you know, keep telling me how they keep watching it, and they have friends over and they watch it, and the support's been great. Your website.com has supported us just incredibly, and really without you guys, you know, no budget indies like us, and, you know, like your Chainsaw Sally friends, all those guys, you're the only way we can reach out, you know, to fans, because, you know, we can't afford the print media. We can't get on TV and advertise. You know, it's just out of our reach.
Well, I think Jay Leno wants us.
Well, Jay Leno.
I mean, you know.
Thank you all for doing this. I'm a big fan of the movie. I'm going to keep telling everybody I know to buy it. And I'm hoping for part 3. Here's my fingers crossed, all right?
Thank you, Tom.
We're a big fan of yours. So
Yep. Thanks, Tom.
What you doing?
Have a nice evening, guys. Thanks.
You too. Bye-bye.